All right, guys. Wow, what an exciting event we have for you. This is the first inaugural Southeast Asia Go Congress live from the Asian Civilizations Museum in Singapore. We're back with more content this afternoon. I'm Stephen Hu from the AJE Journal, and wow, do we have a special program for you? We will have Southeast Asia, a team of 5 players take on an AI. This is our special event of the day. So yeah, very exciting stuff. Thanks for tuning in there. We'll be here for about 34 hours, so it should be a pretty good afternoon session there. But thanks for coming. I have the honor today of introducing our special commentary guest, with no one other than the legend himself, Mr. Michael Redmond, ninth professional player from Japan.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, Michael, we finally get to work together.
Yes, finally, yes.
I've been, of course, backstage producing the AlphaGo self-play series and Redmond's Reviews, which is a very popular series on our AJ YouTube, by the way. If you like that content, please give us a subscription because we will be producing more of that in the upcoming months. But yeah, today we have something that's actually quite different from what we normally do.
Yes, very, very different. Yeah. I don't even remember what Zen is like, so it's sort of, I'm going to be feeling my way here.
Yeah. So just a quick introduction about the AI we're playing against today. It's going to be Zen 7, and I think to the 7th Dan level on one, I think, ordinary laptop, we can say. So it's not one of those crazy machines.
Probably not.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to find out how they play against each other because we do have 5 of the best players from Southeast Asia, of course, guided by our wonderful professional mentors today. So they'll be walking them through the game and hopefully, guiding them through the right moves to defeat the AI, which is achievable, right?
I think the humans should win.
Cool. Let's find out. Of course, the purpose of this event is to encourage teamwork, right? It is not so much about displaying the true might of artificial intelligence. So, yeah, it should be very fun. Of course, we will be bringing you the first player momentarily. But Michael, you predicted that the human team will win, right?
I'm rooting for the human team. Yeah.
Great. Let's hope that it will be the same for the rest of us. During this event, you can cheer for your favorite players, of course. We will be proceeding with the first interview just a few moments away. Okay, we're back from a short break. So we have the first player of Team Southeast Asia for the day. He will be playing the first move as black. So Team SEA is taking black against Zen 7, as we mentioned, at 7 down level on an old laptop. So this, hopefully, it should be doable. But Simon, you are representing Brunei today, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so welcome to the program. I know you've... Is that right?
Yeah, it does.
Okay, cool. We know that you have actually talked to your advisor just moments before, and maybe you went over something about the game already?
Yeah, we did. We did explain, we did try to talk about how we go about the game. Try to predict maybe the AI might play 2 Hoshi, hopefully.
So you're gonna go with a dual star point opening, is that right?
Yeah, probably. Just
Okay.
keep it simple.
So first 5 moves, right? Just don't blunder, right? Don't mistake
Yeah. We will do a simple Joseki already. Yeah, that's enough. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you plan to play a territorial, perhaps, opening, or more influence based?
Yeah, territorial.
Territorial.
Yeah.
Cool. Like that cash, huh?
Yeah. Take the cash first.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Well, we wish you the best of luck. A round of applause for Simon, please. All right. I suppose the game should be underway really soon, so we'll be posting a link to the OGS board shortly. And Simon, good luck.
Okay, thank
and we'll
you.
be back in a few moments. All right, guys, welcome back from the short break. So the game should be underway in a couple minutes, pretty soon. We will be, of course, relaying that to OGS. We'll send you a link very shortly. So, of course, we'll be providing commentary throughout the game. If you want to check out the game in real time, because we might be lagging behind a little bit, you could check out the OGS link for sure. Otherwise, feel free to stay on the main channel here, which is twitch.tv/USGoWeb. Anyway, we're back with Mr. Redmond.
Yeah.
Very exciting match in prospect.
Yeah. The player was saying he was going to play star points, so yeah, that's probably a good strategy.
Yeah, how do you think this is going to affect Zen 7's play from your understanding?
Well, Zen was the strongest computer player a long time ago, and I did use it to study a little bit, but it was so far back I don't really remember. I do remember that Zen is pretty human in its style, so it doesn't dive into the 3 points like most of the computer programs do.
Right, and I think Zen 7 was developed in 2016, right?
Yeah, I think it was the last version of Zen, which means that at its professional level, it's professional strength.
Right.
But they said 7 dan, so maybe that's one level down. I don't even remember that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, should be pretty even match, hopefully. Of course, when we do these broadcasts, we always try to pray for the game to go long and exciting. Right?
Okay, yeah.
Nobody wants a short blowout from the very start.
I thought I'd get an early dinner.
Actually, well, we do a good broadcast, right?
Okay.
We have all the time in the evening. Let's go somewhere nice.
Yes.
Yeah. But speaking of human versus AI matches, I was searching for talking points last night, and boy, did we get a talking point yesterday.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure a lot of people in this room probably know as well. Yesterday was the first game of the Lee Sedol retirement match, of course, the legendary 9-dan professional from Korea, who's been very active at the top of the professional scene for over 20 years. And in that game, something strange happened, huh?
Well, computer just completely flopped. It was an easy win for Lee Sedol. And so my theory is that since this computer program is supposed to be one of the top AIs, it just didn't have, it wasn't prepared to play a handicap game. It was a 2-stone game. And so the computer would be behind throughout, and maybe they hadn't programmed to deal with that, because when computer programs are behind, they tend to get a bit strange.
Right, and I think one of the crucial moments of the game was when Handel, the AI program, misread a ladder, right? I thought that one of the ladders was working.
Yeah, well, it seemed to misread a ladder and also seemed to misread a geta, a net. So, that's pretty basic stuff.
Yeah, I was very surprised to see that. Actually, it turns out it was move 78 as well, if we don't count the initial moves, right?
Yes. That's a special number, right?
All right, yeah. So I think move 78 in this game is going to be important, maybe.
Okay, yeah. But Lee Sedol was winning anyway at that point.
Right.
Yeah.
So, let's talk about AS a little bit. Of course, the game is already going on.
The game started, wow.
Yeah, so...
you didn't play star points.
Before we do that, what do you think are Zen's, or maybe just AIs in general, what are their weaknesses or Achilles' heels?
Let's see. Zen did not seem to have the ladder problem so acutely.
Okay.
So it's a pretty well-rounded, it's a very human-like player.
Right.
So it's, I don't think it really has any special weaknesses. It has a tendency to give away territory and go for the center sometimes, or it can sacrifice groups. So it sort of likes to sacrifice groups. But I don't know if that's a weakness because it does it fairly well.
Right, I guess we'll find out. Actually, and you speak of ladder detection, right?
Yes.
This was perhaps not a problem in pre-zero era programs.
Well, it wasn't using, I don't think it even uses the neural network, so it's a different system altogether. Yeah.
Right. Okay, I guess we'll find out how the game goes. They have already started, so without further ado, we'll hand the board over to Mr. Redmond.
I'm sort of assuming the move order here.
Right, so just a reminder, as Team Southeast Asia is playing as black, and at the table is Mr. Chen Sin-bun, 4-dan from Brunei.
Yeah, this is a very normal opening. It's something that a human player could play. Like Lilo would be suggesting jumping into the 3-2 point probably. And so this is already sort of the style of Zen, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually, we're not seeing any of the 3-3 evasions that we frequently witness in
maybe
AI
the human
style
player
matches.
gets to go in once,
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to find out how Zen reacts to the evasion, right?
It'll just probably play a normal Joseki. It'll be interesting to see how it plays, whether it plays the Hane or not, though.
Okay.
So, like, if black went in now, it's it's sort of the fad right now.
Yeah, it's almost strange that if someone doesn't play the 3-3 invasion.
And I think that nowadays players would mostly answer this way. But it could be that Zen answers in the old Joseki, because it does have a lot of human information in it.
Right. And
look, we're getting that variation.
Oh, actually, yeah.
And by the way, before computer programs, I think almost everyone would invade here or play the approach here. So this was the way we played this.
Mm-hmm.
So this is it's after we have started learning from computers that we started playing moves like that.
Right. So maybe just for folks who haven't really seen much of this Joseki yet, why did the 3-3 become popular, and why is it, for example, why could it be better than the approach? The simple approach?
In this case, I'm not so sure that it's the best move, but it's a popular move. Basically, the 3-3 is going for the corner territory, so it's going to give black a territorial lead. And the way AlphaGo and Leela and all the strong programs play it, there is always some potential for black to, in this case it would be black jumping into the 3-3 point. There's always potential to attack the outside wall. So not only is the player jumping into the 3-3 for territory in the corner, but is trying to hope for attacks later on the white stones on the outside.
I remember that
so it's a very greedy move.
Yeah. I remember the old Joseki always had that Hane and Connect exchange, right? This was way before the birth of AlphaGo, and then we would think of this as the standard.
Yes.
Right? And actually, if someone plays this quote unquote prematurely,
right,
and they will be scolded by their teachers, right?
And yes, very definitely. Even if you're a beginner, you're told not to play this way. And part of the problem is that this Hane and Connect here does give white a fairly solid position, and so it makes it a fairly solid territory. So this is actually a chance for black at this point to invade the territory, maybe with something like this, or something like this maybe.
Right.
There's a question of whether black wants to crow once on the second line first. But when black does this, and let's just say something like this, you can see that black is sort of setting up some potential to attack white on the outside.
Why is the extension you mentioned on the second line so important in this case? Or
this one, this is a move that black will be playing it in any case, because if white plays here, black has to crow. If black does not crow, then black ends up putting one more stone in after white covers here. So the covering move here on the second line is going to be forcing. For instance, white could play here and it would be forcing.
Right.
And so to avoid that, it's usually good for black to crow once more.
Right.
But sometimes you can wait for white to play the attacking move. So like if white plays here, then black can crow, and it's no problem. It's going to be a very similar variation. Or if white plays here, then sometimes you can be satisfied by playing the Hanian connection.
Right.
In this case, I would sort of want to crow once more. And from what I remember of how Zen plays, I'm pretty sure Zen would just extend.
Is it possible for white to nuki against the second line crow?
This is a big Hane. I'd be happy to play the Hane here for black. So I don't think that's a problem for black.
Okay. Yeah, actually, as we speak of this Joseki now, I think black in the real game is facing a decision already.
I think he should stop the game and have some advice.
So you mentioned that
he's already played about 10 moves. 10
yeah.
Moves, yeah. It's a good point for him to stop the game and have some advice. Did he do that?
I suppose if he did, we would have a messenger who brings us the news, right?
I would hope so.
Yeah. It's just
maybe they're too busy conversing to get around to that.
It's like a Shakespearean play. The messenger brings in bad news.
Yeah, that's bad. So it's a question of, I think actually black could be thinking of something like this,
right,
before or after crawling on the second line. Or black could be playing one of those popular shoulder hits.
Yeah, this is actually one of the moves we see of very high frequency in AI-based games. I remember the first moment when we saw that was, of course, during the second game of the AlphaGo versus Lisa Dole match. Right?
That was against Son on the fourth line.
Yeah.
So it was the shoulder hit was on the fifth line,
Right.
and that was something that was frowned upon before.
Mhm.
Like it was a very unusual to play it on the fifth line like that.
Yeah.
And if it did happen, people would say that it was giving the opponent too much territory.
Sure. So we mentioned that black has a few options here at this moment. So either the shoulder hit
Yeah.
or just simply the side invasion, right?
So we go over it on the board once more.
Sure.
Like this, just looking at this kind of Joseki with the relationship between this white wall and a black stone on the side, this is about the right distance. This black stone is about the right distance to make this peeping move here fairly effective. So that's why I was suggesting this move here. And so this would be my main idea. My first idea would be to do some, and then there's the question of whether black wants to play that pro or not. The fact that the game is sort of stopped at this point sort of forces me to mention that possibility, but personally I would rather have the pro played. And then just to give it some variation, black could start with the shoulder hit and hope for something sort of like this, which would give black the same position on the side with the peep coming here next, with some extra pressure on white on this side. So it's hard to judge for me, but you could argue that this is putting more pressure on white.
Yeah. So of course this we will see what happens in the game because we're actually caught up with it pretty early on. I think the first few moves came up quite quickly.
Yes.
Simon says he was going to play the Nirense.
Yeah, and he didn't, did he?
He didn't. Yeah, he changed his mind. Huh?
He changed his mind.
He was fooling us.
Well, he said maybe, but why would he be unsure? It's sort of strange.
Right. So of course, at this moment, we can take any questions from the audience or from the Twitch chat. So if you do have anything about the game, please feel free to raise your hand and let us know. But I do have a small question about the corner Josekis. So I think I've seen a similar, Joseki before, where white doesn't play the Hane, the direct Hane on the top of the two black stones at the top left.
Okay.
But rather the Keima.
Back to here, yes.
Yeah.
This is the more popular move now. I think that for this Joseki now, there are about three big branches. Like there's if white plays here, it's in a case when white wants to play the double Hane now. So this is the accepted variation in modern Go after AI. And in this game, maybe black would just push here. So this is the way white plays when white wants to get some territory in the corner. It's usually when white is afraid of being attacked on the outside. So white wants to get a solid territorial shape, in which case white would not have to worry about eyes anymore. But locally, this is supposed to be slightly better for black. And when you show this kind of position, this Joseki to an AI, usually it's a slightly better score for black when this Joseki comes up.
Right.
So white needs to have, it depends on the board position. So it's a case where white is, for instance, I could add a black stone here and say that if black has positions on both sides, this would be a case where white would want to make a life in the corner. But of course, white has a stone here, so it's okay for white to try something else. So that's what white does if white plays the Hane. If white wants to play relatively simple, white can play here, and if black plays here, now white has Sente. So white could, for instance, add a stone to the side if white wanted to. So this would be a relatively simple way to play. And we saw this move in some of the AlphaGo games, actually. And so usually black plays here. Occasionally black plays here. This sort of depends on the ladder. The ladder looks like it's going to be good for black. Oh, maybe not. Let's see.
Gotta be careful.
Let's see. I'm learning from AI, so I'm starting to lose my ability to read ladders. I think the ladder favors black. Yeah, it's going to hit this. Let's see. I better read it again. Yeah, it's too far away. Yeah, the ladder favors black. It's going to hit this stone. So when the ladder favors black, sometimes this is played. And if white plays away, black can get a relatively good shape. This is probably slightly better than this shape. So sometimes black plays the jump. This is another move that was played sometimes. It was called a trick play before, but now the computers sometimes like this move. Or as we saw in some of the AlphaGo games, if black really has something on the side, for instance, that was a really important play, then sometimes you would see black trolling a couple of times.
Wow.
In an attempt to take center. So like if white continues to extend, then black would be able to play one more move on the side. In this game, in this board position, it doesn't really work, but sometimes there's some really important point that both players want to get to first, in which case you might see black rolling like that.
Yeah. So I'm being corrected. They actually.
Again?
Yes. So
Oh, wow.
Simon did ask for a pause just
Yeah.
now.
Mhm.
That's why there wasn't any movement on the board for a
Wow.
while. So he did ask his mentor, of course, Lee Isho,
Yes.
professionally done to help him out there. So
Uh-huh.
of course that was
He's
a
going
very
to play simply.
yeah.
That's a black does have territory, so maybe the idea is that black has enough territory to keep the game simple. So black actually played a very kind of a traditional way. We never got a chance to talk about the knight's move, but just to finish that,
Yes.
there was a lot of other things I was going to say about it, but that would take about a quarter of an hour. So let's just finish with this. This would be a relatively simple Joseki also, but there is the problem of the cut here, which makes it a bit more complicated than just extending here. So there's potential complications here in this case.
Right. And of course, there are some even more complicated Josekis that follow the 3-3, right? Because it used to be, the large avalanche and that kind of
well, when this happens, then it gets really complicated.
Yeah, this is a madhouse.
No one really knows about this. Like, there's always new variations coming up. We're still sort of working that out. So this was the traditional way, and as I was saying at the start, Zen plays pretty much old style. It's pretty traditional, and black also played in a relatively simple way. This is going to be a game where black takes the territory, and it's going to be relatively peaceful because now black has that corner. You can see that black is making some solid territories, while white is going to use that thickness there to start an attack on black a little bit. Like locally, this kind of move would be a safe move. Otherwise, black could try to switch to the corner. Oh, but black didn't. Sorry.
Right. Actually, there was one.
White extended here.
Yeah, there was one exchange before that.
Yeah. And now white played here. Okay. So now black probably wants to do something locally. I would be thinking of this move again. You could say this depends on the ladder, so I have to read the ladder again.
There's a stone here, so
it's going to hit that stone. Or black could just simply play something like this.
Well, since we're playing against the AI, we could trace it out on the board, right?
Yeah. The AI won't see it, even if you use your fingers. It doesn't see what you're doing. Like in over the board play, that's a really bad strategy because your opponent's going to see all you're reading.
Yeah.
But the AI is going to. So in this variation, it happens like this, and like this, and then black can push through and cut. And if white captures the stone,
oh no!
Now this is really bad for white because black just captures these stones. So this would be good. And then if white answers here, black can take on the ladder. And if the ladder is good, it's supposed to be good for black. There is some issues with white cutting here though. And the valuation of this actually changed a little bit with AIs because sometimes you can get into positions where it's not so good for black anyway, even if the ladder is good. For instance, I think actually white might be trying something else here. Like white could do stuff like this instead.
Wow.
It's not going to be, especially in a modern AI at least, I don't know what Zen's going to do, but it wouldn't be the same story. We don't really know how white's going to answer that.
Right.
But originally, since black did have that favorable ladder, you would expect white to be doing something like, for instance, this. This is one Joseki. This is just to show an old style Joseki. This would be one way to do it, where black has more or less a live shape in the corner, and white gets the extension on the side. So this would be about even. Otherwise, another common way for white to handle this is to play here, in which case black can cover here, and but white cannot run in the corner because this would allow black to cut here. And something like this would be probably playable okay for black. So white usually then continues like this, and black can simply extend down, or black can cut once to get sent in. In this game, both seem to be possible.
So, given this array of Joseki choices, which one would you personally recommend?
Well, for white, I would say it's okay for white to connect here and play here, because this is such a big extension. And also white has this peak from the outside, which can make some potential in the center. So if I had white, I would probably be choosing this one.
You know, I wonder which strategy would be better if we're playing against an AI, because some AIs are very good at positional judgment, right? So if you play too peacefully, sometimes it might be.
Well, exactly. That's why I would have invaded. Like that would have been my strategy.
Right.
But this also it works if you can handle the moyo. Like at some point, I think white is going to start building in the center of the board, and so being able to handle that correctly at that point, black should be able to have a territorial lead.
Right. But of course, as you mentioned, sometimes it's better to muddy the waters a little bit, right, and try to throw the AI into unusual.
Right. Well, it depends on your own style too. A lot depends on your own style. Like I would just start a fight with the AI, but it depends on which AI you're playing also, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah. So far, actually, we're still kind of in the game. And I think they've taken another pause.
They've taken another pause. Yeah, that's the answer. So let's see, how many moves does black play? 6, 8, 10, 16 moves. He only has 4 more moves to play. So he, it would be wasteful not to take a break.
Right. I think each session has 2 pauses, right?
I think 2 pauses. There's one pause that the player can start, and one pause that the teacher, the coach, can start.
Yeah. I would probably use up pauses for reading out the ladder, huh? Just in case I'm not sure.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. Why is it that we don't have someone with a camera taking a video of them doing that?
Yeah.
You don't have enough personnel?
There should just be like a hired ladder checker
right, yeah.
at a Go tournament. So in case something goes wrong, then we can ask him. So yeah, the game is still going on so far. And I think black's probably gonna go for one of those Joseki choices.
Well, yeah, this is the most exciting. It would be the most exciting little Joseki here. Otherwise, black could just play something very simple to connect up to that stone that black played on the outside.
Right.
And I think my feeling is that this would be a bit slack, but it's a very solid way to play.
What if black plays away though? If he's thinking of something else, is there a local move here that is?
Black plays away. It's probably good for white to play here, threatening to cut black. If black answers simply, then white gets here.
Yes.
This is locally a very bad shape for black because the 3-3 point here is a key point that takes away black's eye shape. And also playing here once is a very good exchange for white.
Yeah, not to mention that actually black kind of helped white fix the corner stuff.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So this exchange here is especially bad. And when a shape like this comes up, and for instance, Leela is playing the black stones, usually Leela doesn't even bother to connect up. But when you don't connect, there's some problems you have to deal with later.
Right.
Because you get cut off. So like you would have, Leela would probably be pushing here for a few times, and then at some point playing a cut on the second line, for instance like this, and then eventually would be forced to play something like this. So Leela would be avoiding playing the star point, which would always be giving white an opportunity to cut black off there. But then you see, it would. I suppose that Leela would say it was no problem.
I suppose this could happen in lots of AI games, right? One of the recurring themes we see in our AlphaGo commentaries is that there sometimes will be long episodes of just mutual tanuki. Right?
Yes, that kind of thing. Yeah.
But it might be difficult for the human.
But of course, in this case, just playing the sort of the yes move there is just simply bad for black.
Mm-hmm.
So this is not really a very good option. If black is planning to play like that, it would be better for black to start something first in the local area. It would be more important than that stone. So if black does play away, black really needs a very good plan to deal with that kind of problem.
Right. So we did mention the bottom left corner.
Yes.
And that's going to be one of the areas Black will be paying attention to in the upcoming moves.
Well, the upper left and the upper right are pretty much finished now for the time being. So those aren't going to be a big deal. The lower right corner is not a black territory yet, but it's not as important as the lower left. So like after the lower left is finished or something, you might say, then it's worthwhile to think about the lower right. And we do have that little potential fight starting on the right side with black invading white there. So ideally for black would like to start with this invasion to attack white on the right side. White has this two-space extension which is not 100% alive. So that is something that black will be hoping to make use of. And so for instance, in a running fight like this, then it would look like black would be thinking of potential to attack white here on the side.
Right, which could be it could evolve into a huge battle here.
Yeah, well, my feeling is that white will not be that straightforward in turning out, but just an example to show how sometimes it could turn into an attack against the white group on the right side.
Sure.
So ideally that would be something. Otherwise, stuff like this could be an idea. If white plays simply like this, then you can see black improving his position and getting a big position in the upper right area. So this would be ideal for black. The problem is that white is probably going to play something a bit more aggressive.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, these are all, I suppose, things that could happen, and we will see in the future. And in the meantime, we can take a few questions from our audience. One of the questions coming from Twitch chat is so this one's for I suppose both of us. So what are your playing preferences, virtual or in person? I suppose it means over the board, and why?
Who, me?
Yeah.
I like to play over the board. Yeah.
Me
I
too.
think there's a lot of communication that is not verbal that happens when you're playing a Go game. So you just having your opponent across from you, seeing his or her expressions, how he's breathing, whatever, and a lot of it is not even conscious.
Mm-hmm.
Like for instance, I noticed that when I played my students on the net. And I gave them plenty of time to think about their moves. Like we were playing with email, so they could think the whole day. They're actually pretty strong when I thought they were weaker, and they improved a lot just because I wasn't there. And I think also the fact that I didn't know what they were thinking, because when we played face to face, I generally knew what my opponents were thinking when they were my students. And although it's mutual. I think it's true of stronger players playing each other face to face. That happens to both sides, and it means that you're getting very strong communication. That's really good. So you learn from each other as you're playing, and I like that.
Yeah, and it's also about a social aspect sometimes, right? That's why the Southeast Asian Go Congress is not held over the internet, but rather in person.
Yes.
That's why we have a real venue with real boards and really nice stones in the commentary.
Okay, it looks like
table
black played away just with the one peep.
Yeah.
So I would hope that this was the strategy, because black needs to have a plan.
Yeah.
Black needs to have a plan when white starts to attack black in the lower left. So black, I would assume black has a plan there.
I'm being reminded that this is the last move of the first phase, so there will be a substitution coming up pretty quickly. Mm-hmm. We're still waiting for the move from Zen 7 though.
7 and maybe one more black move too?
I think this is the final black stone, if
I can only
correct.
Count 19 black stones.
Sorry?
Oh, sorry. I forgot an exchange. This exchange.
Yeah. Yes, of course.
Okay, that makes it simpler.
Thanks.
Okay.
All right.
So that was 20 black move. I guess Zen plays one more move, and then that's the second stage.
I suppose Zen is still pondering, right? Okay, cool. So based on what we've seen, to just conclude the first phase, we're gonna go on a break shortly, and then probably maybe we get to talk to Sim a little bit, just about how he felt. But before this, what is your evaluation of the first phase for Black?
I think Black's doing fairly well. Yeah, it's not bad.
Yeah, it's pretty
Black has,
good.
the plan was to get territory, so that's what happened. Black has territory in the lower left and the upper right, and we don't really know what's going to happen in the lower right. White has some territory too, but Black is a hidden territory, and so it will depend. And if White can get an attack going against this Black group in the lower left.
Yeah, well, that we'll find out after the break because right now there will be a substitution. Do we know who the second player is? Din, right? Okay, cool. You'll be going up soon. So we will go on a short break. This has been a lot of fun. I think we've started this game pretty nicely. We're trying to expect a long and exciting game, and there we have it. So we'll have more coming up very soon. We'll be right back. All right, we're back from a short break. So it looks like the substitution has already been complete. We now have the second player of Team Southeast Asia, Mr. Chan Phuc Tin.
Yeah.
Did I get it right? Cool. 5 down from Vietnam, right? Round of applause, please. So, Din, you're the second player. How are you feeling?
I feel the game interactive.
So, I know that you discussed with Ms. Cho Hei Yang,
Yeah.
your mentor, right, for what to do in the game. And what are your ideas so far? And I suppose this has already happened.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
then
So you plan to
Yeah.
play this?
maybe here.
And so afterwards, do you have anything else in the other areas? What if White plays elsewhere?
After that, I must send that.
You must take this.
Yeah, send that it.
So we can show this to the audience. So this is Sente, yeah?
Yeah.
Big Sente?
I send that.
Uh-huh. And then, do you have any plans for this area?
And here.
This one? Yeah.
Yeah.
So if White comes in, how do you plan to answer?
In the corner, have some ID.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe fighting. Yeah. Yeah.
So this is possible, right?
Yeah.
And will you perhaps be attacking, or do you plan to play peacefully?
I like fighting. I will attack it.
You like fighting, right?
Yeah.
But actually, Silva made it super easy. In the beginning, it was very peaceful. So you're trying to start a fight from somewhere?
Yeah.
Okay, this is interesting to know. I'm glad that we did this interview. So already this will provide some context for the upcoming moves. We wish you the best of luck. Of course, your part is very important because as we're heading into mid-game, if you do well, then maybe the team has a good chance. So we wish you the best of luck.
Yeah, I will try on.
All right, well, that's all we have for this mini segment. We'll be right back in a couple of minutes. All right, guys, we're back from the break. Welcome back to the first Southeast Asia Go Congress. This is phase 2 of our special event this afternoon, Southeast Asia versus AI. So a very exciting game we have in prospect. We just spoke with, of course, the second player of the team, Din. He's from Vietnam, so he's a very strong player, 5-down player. Already, this is getting very exciting. So if you want to follow the game in real time, you can go to OGS. There will be a link as a site-wide banner just in the top right corner there. So of course we'll be catching up to the best of our abilities. But yeah, we're back with more commentary from Mr. Redmond. It looks like we're gonna have a pretty good second half. You listened to Din talk about his game plan.
Yeah, he mentioned a number of moves he wanted to play. They were all good moves, so like locally. So he had a good idea of what he was supposed to be doing.
Great. And it looks like the mentoring certainly helps, yeah? And
Yeah, I think so.
so far, both of the players seem to have very nice ideas.
They have a stable plan anyway for each player at least.
Right. I just wish this could be the same for every single game, right?
Right,
I could, if I enter a troublesome situation, I could talk to a professional mentor, and then they can walk me out of the situation. But anyway, we're back with more commentary. So if you have any questions for the live audience here or the Twitch audience, please feel free to just tag us and ask us anything about the game, anything about Go in general. I'm pretty sure Michael and I will be very happy to respond to you. Yeah. Okay. Well.
So let's just get back to the game now.
Yes.
Yeah. So white pushed, and then the second section started. Black extended, and white plays here to reduce the red side. And you can see already that Sen is starting to be thinking of. You could say white has ideas of building in the center of the board. That's what really Zen likes to do.